everyone, it's Miss Jones and welcome to our art lesson. This week we are looking at Alexander Calder, an American artist best known for his innovation of the mobile. These mobiles are assemblies of suspended sheet metal and wire that are activated in space by air currents. His other recognizable artworks include monumental outdoor stabiles, which are bolted together sheet metal. These sculptures only imply movement, meaning that they don't actually move, but they give sort of a sense of movement. One of these stabiles is titled Eagle and can be seen locally at the Olympic Sculpture Park. Calder credits his work's inspiration from other innovative artists, including Piet Mondrian and his geometric abstraction paintings, as well as Marcel Duchamp and his surreal paintings that often imply a mechanical sort of movement. So for our project today, we are going to be making Calder sculptures, but instead of using sheet metal, we're going to be using sheets of paper. So what you're going to need today for this project is colored construction paper. So I picked out some beautiful colors here. If you would like your sculptures to be a little bit more stable, you might want to use a thicker paper like cardstock, but I'm just going to use kind of what I found around the classroom. You will also going to need scissors because we're going to be needing to cut. If you have glue, I suggest having glue so you can add some other colorful paper decorations to your sculpture. And then also pens or markers. These will also help you decorate your sculptures a bit more. So for this, grab your piece of paper. And you're going to need your pencil. So we're gonna make our sculptures half this size. So we have a full piece of paper, which will work, but it will make a huge sculpture. And we wanna make our sculpture a little bit smaller. It will just stand up easier. So let's go ahead and fold our piece of paper in half. So we're gonna fold it like a book. So you should have your paper landscape like this, and then you're going to fold it in half like a book. Now, we are going to take our scissors and we're going to cut along this side here. This fold, we're gonna cut along our fold, and that's gonna give us a smaller piece of paper. This is going to be better for our sculpture because it's just gonna stand up easier and make it a little bit more compact. Whereas the taller piece of paper, if you wanna use a full sheet, you can. It'll just be a little bit hard to manage. So once you have your smaller piece of paper, we are going to, again, fold it in half, like a book. So you should have kind of a little tiny book here, now a lot smaller. This middle crease here, I'm gonna call this our spine of our sculpture. And we wanna make sure we leave the spine of our sculpture intact, because if we cut on our crease here, our sculpture is not gonna stand up. So I like to put a line, maybe do like a finger away from your spine here, and we're just going to draw a line on both sides. And that's where we're gonna cut up to. So we're gonna cut our legs up to our spine there, and we wanna try and go maybe to these lines that are about a finger away from our spine, just because that'll keep our sculptures more stable and make it a little bit easier to manage. So I'm going to show you first how to do just like a simple sculpture. So I'm gonna do a very simple cut. You can always change these and kind of make them a little bit more interesting as you go on. So you can add ridges, you can add steep kind of lines, but I'm just gonna show you kind of basic cut so you can kind of see how you can set up your sculpture, because then once you kind of know the process, you can add your creativity a little bit more to it. So we are going to take our scissors and we are gonna cut our legs that are gonna hold our sculpture up, and we're gonna cut our legs always up from the bottom. So we always wanna do it on the bottom line that's gonna sit on our table. So we're gonna cut from this way, and we want to have it go up and then over to our spine. So it'll go up and over. You can do curved lines, you can do steep curves, you can do gentle curves, you can do wavy lines, you can do up and then like a sharp angle. It all is up to you, but I'm gonna show you kind of just basic. So on one side of your spine, we're gonna cut our legs, and we're just gonna cut up and then over, and that's gonna create kind of one leg. And we're gonna try and cut no closer than this line here. So I might have gone a little bit, but that's totally fine. And we're gonna continue cutting legs until we reach kind of our middle spine. If you wanna cut along this line, you can, or you can leave it big. So I'm gonna keep cutting my legs. Again, you can always make them thick. You can make some thick and some thin. That creativity is up to you. I'm just going to show you kind of the basic cut, so how you can make yours stand. So then I'll do, maybe cut it up like that. So I've got 4 different cuts here, and I'm going to do these exact cuts on the other side. So our sculpture should be symmetrical. So we should have kind of the same cuts on both sides. Maybe in the future you can try and see if you can do some different cuts on each side. Maybe you do 3 on this side and 4 on this side. Test it out, experiment. I'm no expert, so I'd love to hear kind of what you tried and maybe what worked, but I'm going to make mine symmetrical. At least as symmetrical as I can. No promises. All right, so I've got my 4 cuts on each side. Now, the next thing we're going to do is this is kind of the part when you can decorate your piece of paper. So you can either use markers to decorate, or you can use other pieces of paper if you want to cut out circles or stars or whatever. I might add a few different designs to mine, but it's really up to you how you want to decorate it. But once you kind of decorate it and add some interest to it, then you can move on to the next step. It'll just be easier to decorate it before you kind of arrange your sculpture. All right, so once you do your decoration, you can start the next step. So our next step is going to be folding our design or our sculpture so that it will stand up. So remember these lines that we drew next to our spine? That's where you're gonna be folding. So take one of your legs, let's take the outside leg, and we're gonna do a pattern of over, under. So we're gonna fold over this way on our first one, and then the second one down, we're gonna fold under. So one goes over, the other one goes under, okay? So we're gonna do that all the way down, over, under. And luckily we only have 4 cuts, so it should be fine. If you have to rip your paper a little bit to fold evenly, that's okay. But we have over, under on that side, so then you can kind of fold them back. On the other side, we're gonna do the opposite. So since we did the outer leg over, we're gonna do this outer leg under. And then this one, since the other side is under, we're gonna do over, under, and over. All right, so once we have all of our folds done, you can kind of set up your sculpture. So this is when you can start to kind of prop up your sculpture here. You can kind of position your legs, fold them as much as you want. But this is the kind of basic kind of like square look. But once you kind of have mastered this process, you can start to create more interesting structures. So you can add sharp corners, you can add slopes. You can make them, rather than just making them tall like this, you can make them rounder. It's really up to you. So play around with your creativity, see what you can create with these sculptures. You can also make them much bigger. I've used larger pieces of paper, but they're not as stable. So I like to cut my pieces of paper in half. It seems to work a little bit better. If you would like some other examples of different kinds of designs you can do, I will post those here in this video so you can kind of see a couple different kinds and different kinds of examples. But that's kind of the basic setup of how you create your Calder inspired sculptures. Ooh, I like it from that angle. That's the best angle, I think. So thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoy this activity. It is a little bit different than what we usually do. I really wanted to do something with sculpture since we haven't really been doing much of that this year due to our materials, but these paper sculptures turn out really cool and they kind of look a lot like Calder's work. So thanks, everybody. I will see you next time. Bye.